Let's go to the Sunday slate. Let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys and the Atlanta Falcons here first. Early slate, I should say. Falcons get the win 27-21 in this game. We'll take a look at the top 5 graded Atlanta Falcons before we flip over to Dallas's side of things. Running back Bijan Robinson at the top of this list with a 78.6 overall grade. Wide receiver Darnell Mooney stepping up when Drake London had to go out due to that hip pointer injury. 76.3 overall grade for Darnell Mooney yesterday. Offensive tackle Caleb McGarry with a 76.2. Defensive tackle Kentavious Street with a 75.9. And then linebacker Caden Ellis with a 74.6. Kirk Cousins in this game, 72.5. On Dallas's side of things, Osa Adigizua, their defensive tackle, with an 80.1 overall grade. Carl Lawson getting in the mix here with a 78.3. Number 2 here on this list. Cornerback Jordan Lewis with a 75.4. Offensive tackle Terrence Steele with a 71.1. Safety Donovan Wilson with a 68.7. Dak Prescott in this game was not able to finish the game, but finished with a 77.3 on the snaps that he had there. Dalton, stat that told the story here.
I'm going to wrap stat that told the story and most disappointing, all of it, all in one. I think it just goes.
It's Christmas season. Go ahead.
Yeah, might as well, right? Just wrap it up. I just, the Cowboys, it's so frustrating in this game because the Falcons really didn't have to do anything special to win this. The Cowboys combined on 3rd and 4th down went 4 for 18, okay? And it's just over and over. I mean, I know the Cowboys offense has been struggling anyway. Now they're 28th in offensive grade. I mean, that's the thing. They're playing like a bottom 5 defense and offense now, right? But on 3rd and 4th down in this game, you've got a 4th and 1 where they call a CD Lamb jet sweep because they just can't run the ball downhill, right? And you've got the Falcons scoring a touchdown right after that. Got a fake punt on their own 38-yard line in a 14-10 game that, look, just play field position. The Falcons aren't out here playing great. You're just handing them a win at this point, right? The fake punt. There's another 4th and 1 after that where they break with 12 in the offensive huddle and get a penalty and get out of a scenario where they could have gone for it. I mean, it just seems like everything about this Cowboys offense at this point, whether it's early down, late down, just a vanilla offense. They're 27th in successful play rate this season. They have the 2nd lowest play action rate, 23rd in motion percentage. There's just nothing on this offense that they do to help themselves out on early downs, obviously, but you get onto late downs and they still have no answers, even for a 4th and 1 when any other team in the league, we got half of them just running sneaks every 4th and 1. We got the other half that can run right downhill, and then you have the Cowboys who are running jet sweeps, and I don't believe it's the first time this year that they've done this, and you've got the Falcons, all they're doing is taking advantage of the Cowboys' failures. I don't think Atlanta, I should say, did anything special to win this ball game. It's just the Cowboys at every big moment, every opportunity, A, their offense is too vanilla, and B, they just don't do the things on big downs that's needed to win football games. And it's just part of it, I think, is coaching. My most disappointing is just Mike McCarthy for this entire operation they have on offense, because the defensive thing was kind of predictable, right? They lost so many pieces on their D-line. They couldn't stop the run the last couple of years anyway, but now offensively, and I know there's been some O-line issues, but he doesn't help these guys out at all in really any situation. It's a vanilla offense that doesn't get it done in big situations outside of, Dak carrying them through the Pittsburgh game. That's about it.
This is an offense, I agree with you 100% on Mike McCarthy. This is a very predictable offense when you look at me and my team here at PFF have done some studies on how predictable this offense is. When you look at like down and distance, formational tendencies, that if we can find these, I guarantee you NFL defenses are finding these on a week-to-week basis. And so you get into a situation where it's like, hey, we're just going to play one-on-one football. And they're not good enough right now outside of 2 players on this offense, basically.
Yeah.
3 if you include like a Zach Martin at guard. So this is what we're going to get from the Cowboys for the rest of the season. And I know every week I go into a Cowboys game saying like maybe this is the week that we see the real quote unquote Cowboys again. And at this point it's halfway through the season and these are the real Cowboys. And that's not even saying anything about the defense, right? Like this is an offense that is too predictable, where Dak Prescott has to throw into tight windows because I don't think CD Lamb is. Here's what I'll say: like the statistics show that CD Lamb isn't separating quote unquote at as high of a level. But I do think a lot of that is, well, if you're not gaining advantages via play calling, via running away from leverage based on the play call, doing all that stuff, then he's going to have a tougher time. He's going to have to do it all himself, where the scheme doesn't help him. And then once you have your top receiver not getting as much separation, again, through whatever factor it is, and they have nobody else, what's left? There's no run game.
Yeah.
There's no secondary receiving threat. Jake Ferguson's a good player, but you need Jake Ferguson to be your number 3.
He shouldn't be option 2.
He should be option 2.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we are, and it's like it's going to get to a point where there's going to be a change in Dallas, I'm sure.
Marty, who works with us here at PFF, said he's a Falcons fan. Said in the chat, Falcons took advantage of the Cowboys' mishaps. I'll take it any day, which is absolutely true. Nate, right above him in the chat, said, has Kirk only have a 72.5 rating? We had 144 quarterback rating, only 5 incompletions and 3 touchdowns. Well, I think that's a really good way to usher in sort of what I was going to say here with the stat that told the story. It's more of a disappointing thing for the Cowboys' defense because Kirk did have those stats. Like Nate is correct in calling those things out, that it looks like a pretty good day just on paper for Kirk. It looks like he had a fantastic day. 19 completions on 24 attempts, 222 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. All that looks great, but the reason why I bring that up is, and the reason why I think the Dallas defense is the stat that told the story here, actually, when I read that off, is because 0 big-time throws, 3 explosive plays of 15 yards or more. Falcons didn't really do anything to really put pressure on the Dallas Cowboys. They simply didn't screw this game up. And I think when we talk about this stuff here on the show and just at PFF, people think that we're trying to take the win away from the Falcons. They're the better team.
Yeah.
They won the game. They absolutely deserve to win this football game. But it's not like they went into this football game and Kirk Cousins won it on his shoulder or his arm. That didn't happen. And I think it's another way of criticizing the Cowboys defense feels a little tired at this point, but
no, I love it.
But this was, of course you do. But this was different because the Falcons did not do anything really in the passing game to put a ton of pressure on. We talked about the run game failures, but now the reason I bring this up, even though I just said that kind of criticizing Dallas' defense is a little tired, we're 9 weeks into the season now. It's unravel time for that locker room. There's not a lot to sort of hang your hat on, especially when you're dropping games like this where the Falcons didn't really do anything to hurt you. And that's sort of to answer Nate's question of how we get to a 72.5, because Kirk had a fine day. His grade in the 70s is, and I want people to remember this again, PFF grades, it's not like a 72.5 is a C- like it was in school. We're not trying to say that that's bad. If you are grading in the 70s, that's normally like a good performance. It's a sample of a good performance. Now, did you go above and beyond? Were there a lot of big-time throws in this game? Were you the reason your team won? No, and that's probably why those grades aren't in the 80s for Kirk Cousins. And I think that this was a good example of how to appropriately sort of talk about PFF grades here with the Falcons. And again, we're not taking a win away from the Falcons here. We're just trying to contextualize how it happened to hopefully better predict what teams are good, what teams are bad, and what we can expect moving forward.
And there's something to be said for, okay, the winning team is just the team that made less mistakes. That's okay, too. How many hundreds of times did we see Belichick and Brady do that? Just by making less mistakes, they found a way to score more points, right? And there was a late touchdown from Cooper Rush that made the score look closer than it was. The Falcons did dominate this game, but it wasn't like some sort of it wasn't some sort of big physical, assertive dominance that you go, wow, they were dropping bombs or Kirk threw for 500 or they ran for this many or that. It's just sometimes you're the team that goes out there, and the Cowboys beat themselves and the Falcons didn't. Yeah. And that's okay, too. That's just as good a win. A coach would love to see that win every week because if you make less mistakes, you're probably going to win the ballgame.
Darnell Mooney is my most impressive. Like I said, when Drake London had to leave this game, Mooney had a 33.2 threat percentage, so he was used quite a bit in this game. 73.4 receiving grade. 3 of those explosive catches were Darnell Mooney's. 88 receiving yards, 36 of them coming after the catch. I just think that he has had a really great year. And I'll also use this time to say, hey, you know what? I was a little disrespectful of Darnell Mooney going into this season. You know, when John Mechie was available, I remember specifically for the Houston Texans before the season, I was like, Falcons should trade for John Mechie. He'd be wide receiver 2 in Atlanta. And I knew full well that Darnell Mooney was right there, but he's had a couple of quiet seasons since that one really good season that he had in Chicago. So he's having his best year since then. It's worth the hat tip, not only for how well he played yesterday, but how well I think he has played this year overall, either the best year or the second best year of his career so far. Did you talk about most impressive?
No, I'll go to it now.
Okay.
The other guy who had the most predictable big game in the NFL this week, that's Bijan Robinson. I mean, 26 touches, 145 yards, 78.6 grade, and forced 10 missed tackles. I mean, it's just he did what he was supposed to do in this game against this Dallas defense. I think, again, it can be predictable, but he was the engine of their offense. One more thing about Mooney as well. you had Drake London get hurt early in this game and leave the game. They really needed him to step up on the outside to make plays. So I think between those two guys, again, enough done on offense that it's just that's where we got to, and we got a Falcons, honestly, a pretty smooth win, smoother again than the score would tell you.
The Cowboys have basically a historically bad run defense. They are also like historically bad defending outside zone. And what do the Falcons? Not only what do the Falcons do the best? What is the only thing the Falcons do is run outside zone. And it was just a recipe for a big day for Bijan. They get whatever. I don't have to get into it, but the Cowboys are bad on the interior, and they continue to be bad.
Yeah, I think I might have seen John Owning, who also works at PFF. He's one of our editors. He's a Cowboys fan. I think I've already seen him use the mock draft simulator, ironically or not ironically, and basically just every pick the Cowboys have is just some sort of defensive tackle in a really good defensive tackle class, by the way. Cowboys fans, if you're watching this and you want to turn the page a little bit, see what you can get in the next draft, head on over to the mock draft simulator because it's a really good defensive tackle draft, and I think that you would get a kick out of learning the defensive tackles that could be wearing the star next season.